36 south.
I don't know why the video camera shut off right in the middle of recording things, but it did. But we're on our way to the Riverside Casino in Iowa.
Turn left onto Wisconsin 36 south, Wisconsin 83 south. Continue for 20 miles.
You can hear little Miss Google telling me how to do this. So it's got me staying on the bypass around Burlington instead of going through town, even on a slow-moving Saturday morning. Okay, the casino is about 3 hours and 45 minutes from home. I left at about 8:45. The satellite starts at noon. Keith, you're gonna be late. Yeah, I know. It's all by design. You don't have to show up on time for a satellite. In fact, according to Dara O'Kearney, in his book on satellite strategy, you should show up late because satellites have the flattest of the flat payout structures, especially mid-states poker tour satellites, which pay 20%. So 20% win the seats. The lowest chip stack that survives the bubble will get the same value of a prize as the monster stack in the room. So you don't need to try and win every chip in the room. You just need to survive to the seats. Because your goals are so different from a regular MTT or even a cash game, you play a different strategy. One of the meta strategies, if you will, is to show up late. Why show up late? Why is that good? Well, it's because you get a cash equity boost. It's not cash, it's seats, but the seats are cash value. So you get a prize equity boost for showing up late. If even one person busted out by the end of late registration, then there's your any kind of locally organized sports. There's lots of them. Don't take out your aggression while you're driving. If you're so stupid that you don't know the rules of the road, or you only do things after you see other people do them, I guess social Darwinism is just going to have to take over. You're just going to have to get in an accident, points off your license, lose your license. I don't know what to say about stupid. Well, I think that stupid is not a naturally born attitude. You notice how I called it an attitude, not an attribute. It's because stupid is one form of laziness, and that's an attitude. We're all born with roughly the same number of brain cells, synapses that connect those brain cells, and basically just memory. Our brains are all roughly the same. The only ones that have less cognitive ability have some physical problem with their brain. Like most people with Down syndrome. That's caused by genetics. It's not their fault. They're not stupid. They're disabled. Same thing with people with brain injuries, strokes. Not stupid, just disabled. Stupid is when a perfectly healthy, functioning brain is not being used. That's laziness. Laziness is an attitude, not an attribute. I could be lazy if I wanted to. I could be stupid if I wanted to. I don't want to. So I do my work in a job where you pretty much have to have a degree or close to it. College education, which I worked very hard to get. But I just didn't go to school for 4 years right out of high school. I got it as an adult over the course of 20 years in my off work time. And I maintained my job. I've been in my job for working for my company now for over 12 years. Haven't gotten let go yet. In fact, I keep getting bonuses every year and told by my manager that I'm doing well. In a job that requires you to use your brain a lot. That's why I like poker, because anybody can play poker. It's easy to learn the rules, it's easy to learn the poker hands. I taught my granddaughter in a morning when they were here last month. But in order to be successful at it, in order to be a winning player in the long run, you have to do a lot of studying, have lots of experience, and you have to be able to think on your feet while playing. You have to be able to execute all the strategy that you learned. People who are stupid cannot win at poker. They can play poker, they can have fun at poker, but they need to have a budget for it, because they're going to be a consistent losing player. I like poker because I'm using my skills that I have, my abilities, my brain, and in an area where I have better than average ability. Mathematics. I don't know, I like to think I have a good insight into human nature. I trust my instincts about people. I wish I had taken psychology courses when I was in high school and college. I never did. I've been reading up on the topic. Kind of interesting. This book that I'm in, called Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, is very interesting. A lot of it applies to poker. It's a psychology book. And I think that I have the ability to switch between Kahneman's, what he calls, I forgot the exact terminology. Basically, it's we got two ways of perceiving the world, two ways of solving problems. One of them is our instincts. It's often guided by our emotions. It's guided by what's going on in front of us right now. And then the other one is our decisions and our perceptions based on reason. It's harder to do that, and sometimes people fall down trying to use the reason side of their brain when their instinct side of their brain will serve them better. But it's just interesting. I think it applies so much to poker because you have to trust your instincts. You also have to trust your system brain. And you have to know when to do each. So things like that are why I like poker. I think I have a good system brain. I've always got A grades in every high school and college math course I ever took through calculus. A grades in math-heavy courses like organizational management, operations management, business statistics, which was a math course if nothing else. So, and because I took those as an adult, I think I learned them better. And all of that kind of synaptic activity serves you well when you're learning poker concepts. The book Modern Poker Theory by Michael Acevedo is very system intense. Written like a upper division college textbook in some kind of math or finance oriented course. He doesn't talk, Modern Poker Theory doesn't talk much to satellites though. It talks mostly to MTTs. It's got sections on cash games. Satellites are a whole different animal. And the reason the strategy is different is because your goals are different. In a cash game, you're trying to maximize EV hand over hand over hand. Each hand is a separate event. I mean, there is a certain metagame there. After you've been sitting at a table with the same players for a while, you start to get reads on them and you can adjust your strategy accordingly. But for the most part, it's still, even after you make those strategy adjustments, it's still hand by hand by hand. In an MTT, your ultimate goal is to try to win every chip in the room. Which means sometimes you gotta sacrifice a little bit of chip EV in order to try to maximize the potential of making a big score. You're going to play it a little tighter overall because the survival of your stack is an important thing. In a cash game, you can just buy back in if you get busted. But in MTT, you can buy back in only until the late registration period. After that,
in half a mile, turn left onto the I-43 South ramp to Beloit.
I got somebody tailgating me, something fierce here. Yeah, getting back to MTTs. Trying to win every chip in the room, and it changes your goals for your individual hands. There's different phases of the tournament where you adjust your strategy. And you gotta play tighter overall. In the early big stack levels, you might actually play a little looser, going for more draws. But once the blinds are up a bit, you're gonna stop chasing draws. Especially after the money bubble breaks, you're not gonna chase draws anymore. But yeah. And so there's where MTTs are different than cash games. MTT, the rake is taken before you ever start playing. Cash rake is you play with the tournament chips. So the rake is not a factor in your starting hand ranges and stuff, whereas it is in cash games. You're gonna, you should raise blinds a little less often, and you should defend blinds a little less often in the cash game, because the rake, you have to pay the rake if you defend the blind, or if the blind defends against your open. Tournaments don't have that rake issue. Satellites, like what I'm going to play today, are a completely different animal. Again, you don't have the goal to maximize chip EV hand to hand. You don't have the goal to win every chip in the room. Your goal is to survive to the seats. If you survive to the seats with one chip, your prize is of equal value as the prize that will be won by the guy with the mountain stack. So we're disincentivized to try and build our stack absolutely as big as we can. We want to get it to a certain point, but we're going to play tight, careful poker to get there. One reason I like these satellites is because I've noticed that, at least here in the Midwest, the vast majority of the players playing satellites are not using good satellite strategy. They're playing it no different than they would play in an MTT or in a cash game. In satellites, ICM, the integrated chip model, is huge. Even more than in an online sit and go, or definitely more than in MTT. ICM is not even a factor in cash games. Satellite, you could get to a place where you're gonna fold your pocket aces flop, where you would never do that in a cash game, and only very rarely under extraordinary circumstances in an MTT. Here in Delavan. I might just do that. Beloit is close to the Illinois border. Gas stations close to the Illinois border tend to have higher gas prices because of their proximity to Illinois, which has very high gas taxes and thus higher gas prices. I'm going to going to tank up here.
In 1,000 feet, keep left at the fork. Follow signs for Lake Geneva. Keep left at the fork.
See, Lady Google doesn't know about my gas plans. That might be
In a
something
quarter
where they
mile,
can
merge onto
improve
I-43 South.
the navigation app. You could say, you could tell her to stop squawking at you while you're getting gas, and then use the information.
Continue on Geneva Street for 3/4 of a mile.
I'm gonna stop at that mobile station. Thank you, Joe and Vladimir. All right, got some gas. Don't need anything else. Years ago, when I was a single man, County Road X was a frequent exit that I took, because I was seeing someone that lived just off of that exit. That came to an end. Incompatibility and distance. Not exactly a long distance relationship. It was over a half an hour away, but incompatibility. So she's probably not living there anymore. Probably going to arrive there about 12:30. The satellite tournament will start started at noon. The structure sheet says that late registration ends at 3 o'clock. Well, I'm going to get there and check and see, where they're at. If it's really going to be 3 o'clock or if it's going to be something different. I'm going to have to resist the temptation to buy in, because I have another plan, and we got the old saying, plan the work, work the plan. So my plan is to make this drive and then get there, get some food, get my Players Club card. I'll have to get my club card first, then get some food, and then sit around for a while and relax afterward and wind down a little bit after this 3.5-hour drive. Don't want to jump right into a tournament after driving for 3.5 hours. That's not smart. Get my nerves settled back down, get my mind right. When I get to the casino, I'm gonna have lunch, get my Players Club card, not in that order, and then I'm gonna sit around for a while, relax. I have my phone here, and I've got these satellite books by Bernard Lee and by Dara O'Kearney. I'm just going to review the highlights, my notes, because they're Kindle books, and you can make notes in Kindle books. Look at the charts a little bit. I know that you play tighter. You can jam. You can open jam in tournaments and satellites, as long as you don't have anybody off to your left that's calling that stuff off. But calling jams is a whole different story, because when you call a jam, you will see a showdown, and if you're not playing it right, you could be costing yourself big. You might win, might double up, but if you're doing it too much, it's going to catch up with you. You got to be very careful. You have to have very tight requirements. A lot of times, you're not even going to call off an open jam with ace king off suit. Pocket jacks might be the worst hand that you can call off with. You need to review those charts, get them locked back in. But calling jams has to be done with great care, and that's the area that you should study more than open jams, because with open jams you're usually going to get the folds. I mean, if your ranges are inaccurate, it's got a long run cost, but it's nowhere near as expensive as errors in calling jams. So calling jams should be the area you study more than open jams. I've got a spreadsheet that I made using formulas from Bernard Lee's satellite book. The formula calculates much of a stack you can have. It calculates how safe your stack is, and I put the formulas in a spreadsheet, so that all I had to do was put the tournament format numbers into the spreadsheet, and then during the tournament I'll enter the size of my chip stack at the time, and then basically I've got the spreadsheet set up to put a Y for yes under one of three columns. One column is called safe, where I can just fold to the seats. The second column is called, I forget, I just made the spreadsheet, I already forgot. But anyway, it's basically where I can't fold to the seats, but I can be extra careful, be very selective. And then the final column puts danger. If the Y is in the first column for safe, I'll fold everything, including pocket aces. If the Y is in the middle column for caution, I won't play as many hands as I normally would, but I know I still need to pick up a few blinds in order to get into the safe area. And if it's in the right-hand column, I'm going to be aggressive. So it just occurred to me now that I may need to add another column to that spreadsheet, where a column that tells me how many blinds I need to pick up to convert from caution to safe. I'll have to ponder that one for a while, because basically it's defined as if I get to the ending blind level, which is another calculation it makes, but if I get to the ending blind level with 12 big blinds, based on the number of chips I have right now and how many I'm going to blind off, if I'm still going to have 12 big blinds, I'll be able to just fold to the seats. I'm defining caution as between 5 and 12 big blinds. I'm going to review that, I think. I'm not sure that 5 is correct. 90. But I really probably should have another column that tells me the number of big blinds I will have at that level. I think my spreadsheet is actually better than what Bernard says in his book. It's using Bernard's numbers, but Bernard does a lot of rounding off because he's writing it for someone who's going to be doing this in their head at the table. But if I'm going to be using a spreadsheet, I'll basically be able to have things more exact. So this spreadsheet is going to be a work in progress. I think it's not a done deal yet. Like, for example, it has a factor. It's got a factor that takes into account the number of how long your each blind level is, because it's important, because the blinds are going to go through you more times the longer that the blind levels are, and so he factors in like it's a factor of 1 if your blind level is 15 minutes. If your blind level is between 15 and 30, it's a factor of 1.5, and if it's 30 or more, it's a factor of 2, which is great for somebody who's at the table doing this in their head. But if I got a spreadsheet, I can just enter a time for the blind level and get my numbers more exact. Now, it's based on an estimation of how long an orbit takes. And it's using 15 minutes as the estimation for how long an orbit takes. We all know that different formats play faster than others. If the dealer is using an automatic shuffle machine, that increases the number of times the blinds will go through you by about 10%. Big blind antes increase the number of times the blinds will go through you significantly, because the game plays faster. You know, when you got traditional antes, the game plays slowly because people forget to ante. The dealer has to deal with all of that, and the big blind antes play faster. So I think what I'll do on this spreadsheet is change that factor from 1, 1.5, and 2, and write some kind of a formula where all I have to do is plug in the time for each level, and then put an X in some squares that say say something like traditional ante, big blind ante, hand shuffle, machine shuffle. I've got numbers for that in one of my other books. I'm going to look them up and use them. Another thing that changes is that as the bubble draws near, the play slows down. Both because people have more to think about and because some of them are stalling. I don't know how much it gets affected. I guess you have to observe what's happening at your table and maybe have another adjustment factor for how much it's slowed down. So we have arrived at the Riverside Casino. Walk up to the main entrance. Elite Sports Book. Smoking. Interesting. Got one of these waterfall deals here. The Elite Draft Day Sports Lounge. Resort Club Riverside. Let's look at it. Alright, we are here in the Riverside. I just got my card, and I'm going to follow the rules and not take pictures of people to the extent possible. The goal here is just to kind of take a look around the inside of the place and see what they all have to offer. Elite Sportsbook, Draft Day. Looks like a pretty cool sportsbook type thing. They got a shrimp thing for Lent. And next on the wall is High Limit Room. And here's the poker room. The satellite already started, so I imagine a lot of these people are playing in the satellite. A lot of them are probably playing cash games and things too. The event center. The event center is where the main event's going to be next week. Restrooms are here. Cashier's cage. Where next week I'm going to score and cash in for my better than 100,000 bucks when I win this main event. This looks like a buffet and it is operating. I'm going to double check that. A lot of casino buffets have been closed. I don't see any signs at all. Maybe there's a different entrance. Let's go find it. And that's just the hotel area. It's like a snack bar there. That's where I might do lunch. But before doing that, let's walk this way. Robert's Buffet, it says. Alright, I'm not pointing my camera at people as much as possible. Alright, I'm calling it. It's time for lunch. Alright, I just talked to the buffet lady. It's 19 bucks, even at lunchtime. I don't want a big meal. I don't like to eat big meals before I play poker. She said that there's a lunch place. I kind of got a quick view of it a little bit ago. Just around the corner here, and I think that's what I'm going to have to partake in. Got a sitting area. So let's see what kind of stuff we got going on here. There's the menu up here. Sandwiches, pizza, assorted drinks, chips. Another menu. There's the sitting area. Nice. This is what the doctor ordered. Look at all these desserts. I'm not going to partake. Sugar Crash is the last thing I need when I'm going to play poker. But boy, especially those cream puffs, it all looks good. What have we got over here? It looks like a shopping store. Yep. We've got a place for people to spend their winnings. Right? I love it. I've always loved all this stuff. Salon and spa. I won't be doing that today, but for those who like to partake, there it is. Now I think I'm kind of do need to pay attention to the time. Last thing we need is to show up late, come all this way, and then not be able to play. Holy moly, that would be a catastrophe. Catastrophe with a capital K. There's some guys over there, otherwise I'd get a picture of this. But it looks like a sporting goods store. Got Oakley glasses, Ray-Bans, percussive therapy device. I don't even know what that is. That's something for me to look up on the internet. This is your basic sporting goods supplies. Kind of cool. Hats. Yep. To score a little extra cash from golfers while providing convenience for said golfers. Excellent. Mugs. Alright, satellite's over for me. Bought in a little early, half hour early. So I took a stack that was slightly bigger than starting stack into late registration. So that was good. I survived for quite a long time. But then with blinds at 2,000, 4,000, 4,000, and me with 35,000 under the gun, I get dealt ace king offsuit. Of course, there's only one play with 9 big blinds and ace king offsuit. You jam it. Got 2 callers. One of them had 10s, one of them had jacks. The jacks covered me. I'm leaving. Yeah.
I was just we don't allow videos.
Oh yeah, these security guys told me those.
Are you with somebody that?
No, security guys told me it was fine as long as I didn't picture players and tables. So I'm just walking through the casino.
Right. Obviously, players you walk by.
Yeah. But no, I'm leaving anyway.
All right.
So anyway, where was I? So I run ace king offsuit against 10s and jacks. The jacks had me covered. The 10s rivered the set, or turned the set. So I was done even before the river came out. I was hoping for an ace or a king. I would have beat them both. But no such luck. I got probably about 5 all-in bets through, and kept surviving, picking up blinds and surviving all as far as I got. I did get 1 triple up. I had pocket 10s, and the other 2, for some reason that I still don't understand, called off with 5s and 3s. So I got a near triple up on that deal, and that helped me a lot for survival. But overall, I mean, it was pretty good. You're not going to win them all. I got pretty far. I think my strategy of late registrations worked out. You can use your short stack weapons right from the get-go. I only had one hand where I played post flop. It was inconsequential. I was in the big blind. It folded around to the small blind. He limped. I checked my option, and then I had a king. He had a queen, so we checked it down to the river, and I won that tiny little pot. But overall, not too shabby. I think I walked off in the wrong direction here, didn't I? I did. I don't know what that guy walking up to me, slot attendant, why he had to come up to me and say that I wasn't allowed to take pictures. Security told me it was fine. The Players Club people told me it was fine. I don't know. I think that guy just likes to be a prick. Yeah, that's the thing that happens in casinos. The left hand literally does not know what the right hand is doing. Security told me it was okay, but it's lot attendants said I had to put it away. He just likes to be a prick. I don't know, I'm not wearing any kind of Wisconsin sports team colors or anything like that. Some sports team that he hates. I don't know what hair crawled up his ass. But anyway, I can't find my car. Good thing I've got car alarm. That wasn't it. These days, cars all look alike. It's hard to find your car. But this is it. I think I played pretty decent satellite poker strategy. I stuck with strategies in Bernard Lee's book and in Dara Kearney's book. With Dara Kearney, I was mainly following his advice to be very selective about calling off jams. And the only jam I called off all day, I had pocket tens, and that was well within that, I know. So that was fine. And then that was the big hand of the day for me because I almost tripled up. I jammed several times, got him through.
Take the next left onto Iowa 22
until that
East.
last one when I got called twice. My pocket pairs, good pocket pairs. So that's just how it goes. Can't win them all.
Continue on Iowa 22 East.
Gotta get lucky no matter how good you are. I think I'm pretty good at satellites. I saw a lot of poor satellite play again today. Guys off to my left were calling off way too much. The one guy was practically a calling station. They were jamming with hands that were too weak. That they didn't have to jam with the size of stacks that they had. You gotta be patient in a satellite. Survival is important. Jamming with marginal jamming hands is not a recipe for satellite success. Jamming with ace king under the gun with 9 big blinds is a recipe for satellite success, but that doesn't mean it's always going to work. Today is a good example of that. My ace king didn't pair the board, so and I was up against 2 pocket pairs, 10s and jacks. And actually the 10s turned a set, won the big triple up. He was a good player. He handled his chips like a reg. He seemed to know what he was doing. He was about the only other one at the table that I thought knew what he was doing. He was hurting until he got that big triple up into me and into the jacks. He was the one with the 10s, but he turned the set. So he got a bunch of my chips, and then the guy with the jacks got the side pot, got the rest of my chips. I'm not hungry. I ate a sandwich and a cup of pasta salad for lunch. The sandwich was worse than average. The pasta salad was pasta salad. It was all right. But yeah, the sandwich was not great. The bread was dry. The lettuce was wilted and dry. There wasn't a whole lot of meat in there. Yeah, it was not not a thing that I recommend if you want good food. Now, if all you need is something that makes a turd, well, then, yeah, it wasn't poisonous. It satisfied my appetite. I'm still good to go. I'm not hungry. It's 4:30 almost. Let's hope I have better luck Friday when I come back here on Friday. I think I did all right. I don't think I'm not. There was one play that I think I regret. I opened with a suited one gapper, like Jack 9 or something. Put the one way, I don't know, 20 big blinds in the cutoff. The button would have been pretty active called. So as soon as you make a kind of a loose open like that and get called, you have an issue. A hand like Jack 9 suited, it's hard to play out of position after the flop, especially when you've only got about 20 big blinds left to work with. But when it didn't flop, I had to pretty much give up. I think that was the only mistake I made. It's not a huge mistake. It's not tragic. I had one hand where I small blind completed with about 2 other limpers in there with some kind of connector. Forgot. I should have wrote it down. But I didn't hit the flop, so I got out of that one and lost. That was very early on today. I lost half a big blind on that one. One thing that was sweet was that I got a $10 free play, and I found a Jacks or Better machine, and I played 2 hands of dollar Jacks or Better. The first hand hit a full house for $40, and then the second hand hit a high pair for another $5, so I got a $10 free play and turned it into $45. I'll take that 7 days a week. The trouble is, I'm only going to take it once because I got that free play because I was a new member. But something has to go right, huh? I had another one where I was in the hijack, and that was right after I tripled up, and I had about, I don't know, 25, 30, about 30 big blinds, or 25 maybe. And so I opened in the hijack for, I only had 25, so I opened in the hijack for just a min open. I got 3-bet by the button, and my hand was not in my 3-bet or my open call range, much less my open 4-bet range. It was in my open fold range, so I had to fold it in that right away. As soon as I got up to 45,000, I lost 4,000. And the guy who tabled ace queen. Bald eagle in the road. Bald eagle in the road. He got away. I'm not going to say it's the closest I've ever been to a bald eagle, because it's not. One time when I was up in Spooner visiting my parents, we were out on the pontoon boat fishing on Tozier Lake, and a bald eagle was So spotted a dead minnow or something that we had floating. He came down and he scooped that thing up off the surface of the water, not 50 feet away from us, and then took off over our heads, not 15 feet above our heads. That was as close as I've ever gotten to a bald eagle.
In half a mile, turn left onto Davis Avenue.
This one was close though. This one was the second closest I've ever been to a bald eagle. So, on March 18th, I'm going to be traveling back to Riverside to play in another satellite, and hopefully I can get in by satellite. If not, there'll be a couple of other smaller events that I'll be able to play in. Right now I'm leaning against paying for the $1,110 main event buy-in directly because that amount is out of my bankroll. And though I can take shots at that level once in a while, I don't think that I'd better do that all the time. So I'm going to not do that this time. I'll save my money for the World Series of Poker. So, thank you for watching. I'm going to try and make another vlog for that main event and for the play that I'm doing this weekend.